Hello, Alex Lapkus here. Um, Today I'm going to tie a new little fly I've been playing with. We'll call it the Sparkle Deceiver or Sparkle Deceiver. Um, a couple things we're going to need. Typical 10 millimeter shank to start. Obviously you can change that if you want to make them bigger. B10S number 2. Cone heads, large, whatever. You can decide what you need there. Some small Palmer chenille, couple feathers, little schlappen, and some whatever color, you know, whatever color you want. I need a yellow and peacock right now. So the peacock's kind of like a brown. It's not exactly a peacock, but it's semi-close. So on these bright, sunny, late summer days, sometimes that flash can be really effective. It's one of the only times I really run heavy flash, and when I do, it's usually in this sort of form or one of Russ's flash monkeys, which I've also had good luck on. But we just kind of hit late summer, so now I'm going to go in, one of these nice whiting rooster saddles. I'm just going to find a couple short feathers. I'm not trying to make this thing huge. I still want it small. So, 2-inch, 3-inch, whatever. Probably closer to 2. And a lot of that size is going to be dependent upon, your tail length. So I'm not going to go too big. But, we're kind of late summer playing around. There's sometimes that brown and yellow really get some fish going, usually around, as you get close to brown trout spawn, that's usually when I see it be the most productive. And that is just as simple as browns eat browns, and they get pretty aggressive and territorial when it comes to the spawn, who wants to be where. And they will run others out. I'm sure it feels a little redundant that I just kind of keep adding shanks on the back of stuff. But a lot of these flies work better this way. I'm not sitting here saying I'm inventing anything or trying to set the world on fire, but when I see a fly that I like or whatever, and I feel like I just kind of always put my own little twist on things because, well, I kind of fish a lot, and when you fish a lot, you start learning, what works for you. How to adjust and make things better. And that's all it is. I know marabou tails will wrap hooks a lot, and I know that feathers tied off the back, even with a bunch of bucktail or flash tied right off the back, it falls on that hook, man, and you just, that is not, if you're casting that fly out and every third cast it's foul, how are you ever going to catch a fish? So, that's the deal. It's not, I don't do this to be some sort of freaking hero. You're just making a lure to try to catch some fish. So, whatever. I think that the more people fish, the more they'll find that, little adjustments to flies based on your conditions and where you're fishing are going to make you more successful. Whether it's, more weight on certain flies, less material to make it sink better, whatever it happens to be, it'll help you. And that's just kind of the world I live in. I'm just making a lure to catch fish, which is part of the reason I really still enjoy fly fishing. It is fun. It's fun to come up with something different and have success on it. So, whatever. There's a whole lot of inventors out there, and I don't claim to be one of those, but I'm also not afraid to change something to make it more effective for what I do. Okay. Excuse me. So we just got our little feather tail now. I'm going to hit this with little Sally Hansen's. Now I'm going to give it a little second to dry because, you know, that's what you got to do. But this will, just adding that little bit of Sally Hansen's will make it last a lot longer. You know, a lot of the colors I like to tie with on this too are the standard like gold with the black gold, whatever, over top with Pearl Bailey, whatever it is. I happen to have plenty of those right now, so I'm going to do olive in this kind of brownish color. So let me give this a second to dry, and we'll get back on it. Okay, hopefully that's dry now. So now we're going to put this is a large cone on a number 2 B10S, simple, you know, mono connection. And on this one I do kind of like to run that mono all the way up basically to the cone, because as you're stacking the ripple ice fiber in, it just keeps that, as you're building it up, a little more uniform diameter on the shank, and it doesn't slide off too much or anything. So we're just going to do a little loop here. Alright, just filling the box. We are going to go float today. We're starting to get those really cold nights. I mean, really cold would be a stretch, but it's kind of, you know, I think it was 40 degrees this morning up here. So, no rush to get there. So, might as well tie one more fly, seeing as I only have one brown and yellow left in here. And give them a break. You know, a lot of times this time of year, you know, I did a guiding forever where, like, when you're working for a shop, you kind of just have it scheduled to, like, oh, you're meeting at this time. Man, you'd get some of these cold nights and you would know you got scheduled about 2 hours too early. You know, sometimes in the low light, really early in the morning, you get your shot at your bigger fish, and then you don't move anything for hours on end. So at this point in my life, I just kind of usually wait and try to be out there a little later. Now, that's a little different on the tailwaters, as, you know, you can, you know, the lakes hold temperature a little bit better. So then I'm just going to take this medium polymer chenille and I'm going to wrap it up a little ways. And this is just kind of a filler, because you don't need that much of this ripple ice fiber. So I kind of just fill half the hook shank with whatever, something. Doesn't really matter. But I just happen to use this. You know, we're leaning into the sparkle pretty hard, so it doesn't really matter how much is showing. This is what it's for. It's, you know, it's a Panther Martin. You can cast with a fly rod without the vibration. Unfortunately, without the vibration. It's like, as I said, I'm going to do a yellow and brown. And I'm just going to grab some of this ripple ice fiber, and I'm not really sure. It's kind of messy to play with, so you're going to lose some product. You kind of go through a lot and whatever. But the way I've always done it is just, or, you know, a lot of the stuff I used to use was that ice wing flash or whatever they called it. But, you know, I'm going to try some of this stuff. This gives it a little different look. It's a lot of flash out there, man. This gives it a little bit more. Well, I just kind of lay it in and then tie it back. So it's just kind of building it up so it, you know, it's locked in there good. Boom. Kind of done. And I'm going to go to the peacock, and then you just kind of repeat this process up that hook shank. You know, just lay it in, Tie it down and back, give it a couple wraps back, and then cinch it down. I kind of usually like to get in there and make sure it's kind of covering the hole, or you could just kind of spread the material once you pull it back to make it cover up everything. There's probably some better way out there to do this, but this is just kind of how I've done it with all the stuff, and I'm a creature of habit. And it seems like, you know, a little bit of this goes a long way. So, you know, you can kind of, you don't have to like grab big clumps of it to throw it out there. That's just, you know, a little bit here, work it back, and you're using double what you use every time. So, see, this is where I'll kind of make sure it spreads to the sides before I come back and wrap over it. I'll see how that kind of covers it up, getting that 50-50 on it. But yeah, and I'll show you some of the other colors at the end of the video here that I like. You know, real basic. It does seem like I like having the brown and yellow. Like, seems like that yellow's been popping on some of the days I've been out streamer fishing. Like, you get that sun up high and it's like, oh god, they are looking for it. But that standard, you know, gold kind of blackish color, I kind of like gold with then, like, the ice wing fiber came in a, I think it was a minnow bat color. I think that's what they called it. And that was sweet. And I don't know, they might still make it, but my local fly shop happened to be out of it. Whatever. See, and now you can start seeing that you're going to have that real defined line of dark to light. Baby brown trout. And browns eat browns. You do see those males will get pretty aggressive on that brown and yellow late in the fall. A lot of times I like to tie any of the two-tone stuff with a darker style tail, but oh man, I wanted more yellow for this because it just, I've been eating that yellow. Just kind of keep stacking it on back like I'm doing. There's that nice divider line of dark to light. The product is a bit of a mess to play with and work with, but you know, whatever. What isn't? Not like deer hair and buck hairs. Wonderful and great to play with. And this one's going to basically be up at the cone. And I'll get a little more yellow in there, but not much. And this is just basically to cover it, so I'm just going to do a tiny bit and make sure it covers that. And then you know, doing these, I kind of usually just whip some junk in there to fill behind that cone. You know, I'm not really that worried about it. But then again, I don't really worry about much of this stuff. So I just have some ice wing fiber left over from some fly, and we're just going to fill that little that spot in behind the cone for no other reason. I guess I could do a dubbing loop, but whatever, you know. I mean, the dubbing loop would make it look nice once again. And then this will just kind of fill that gap there. Sure, that looks perfect. Come in, get a bunch of whip finishes in there. Bunch of them. There we go. Okay, so then when I go to trim this material, like, I'm just going to kind of pull up on it, and I kind of like to take it in a line with my schlop, and I wrapped on that back hook. You know, you kind of want it to, I'll just kind of keep that same taper going back. I actually did buy new scissors. I keep thinking one day I'll actually open that pack, but whatever. And I might need, need to do just a bit more trimming, but not much. But that kind of gives me that brown and yellow look that I wanted on this one. Little baby brown trout. So we're gonna go run some of these today too, and play with it. I'm gonna show you. And they're not gonna sink real fast. This product's a little bulky, but we'll probably run it on a little sink tip or something. But that's the guy. And here's some of the other colors. Like this is probably, you know, like my go-to is this more, you know, white, pearl belly, some of that minnow back on it. That's a go-to. Another one I really like is the, I just get the EP sparkle brush in root beer and make this thing. That's always done really well for me. It's just that root beer sparkle brush, whatever, trimmed down just a touch with the little tan tail on it. So that's a little smaller. See how different the size is just based on running a little shorter feather. So just a little nub back there and it's going to be good. No, I have some of this. I have a saddle in this color too that looks pretty sweet, so I just kind of threw a little bit of that on there, a little darker tail with that same minnow body color, whatever. I did tie some with tungsten cones and some without. Let's see, the size of the tungsten cones got a little sharp and white too, just because it's fun. The tungsten cones don't seem to, the ones I have are a little smaller, and I think the large standard ones are gonna sink about the same. But that's just a little sparkle deceiver. And yeah, that's it. Simple tie, but just a little different, and a little bigger profile without that marabou tail that does wrap the hook. So another thing you can do is just add marabou back there on that shank, you know, and if you want to keep it short, whatever, it's fine. I happen to have a ton of small feathers from saddles I've owned forever, so I'm kind of using a lot of those. But if you just went like a short marabou tail like that, boom, you're going to get the same bait you've always had with less fouling, and then you can use a little bigger gapped hook and whatever, mix it up a little. So hope you enjoyed.